Okay, Math 1, here we go. We're looking at multiplying polynomials today, multiplying polynomials, okay? You've done a lot of this last year. When you did it, you just didn't realize you were doing polynomials. You just thought you were using the distributive property. So that's really all we're going to do is we're going to use the distributive property and the laws of exponents all at the same time. So, for example, here, I look at 2x to the squared times 3x squared, and I write the answer down. Now the difference is, last year you would have problems like this, and even earlier last week you had problems like this, and they were exponent problems. Well, now this all happens in your head. So this is all happening in your head right now. We'll take the second term, and once again, in our head we're trying to do 2x squared times 4x. And then in our head, we're going to do 2x squared times negative 5. Guys, and that's really about it. Okay? The difference, of course, being at this level is the distributive property, all the laws of exponent stuff, that happens in your head. So I got another example for you here. Alright, so once again, we're looking right here. That's the work that's going on in your head. This is the work that's going on in your head. Negative ab squared times 5a squared b. And we do our laws of exponents. I'm not going to do the rest of it. I'm not going to write down the rest of it. We're just going to actually do it in our head. Negative ab squared times negative 6. Negative times negative is positive. And then you got a times a is a squared. B squared times b is b to the third. Alright, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Now some people like to do it in what we call a vertical method. We don't see it very often, but I thought I'd show it to you. Alright, all you do is take this negative 2x and kind of write it underneath instead. And then you're going to multiply like you learned how to multiply multi-digit numbers. Alright. But I hope you recognize you're just multiplying like you did multi-digit numbers. Okay. Now, here's the new stuff. When you take a binomial times a binomial, it's really exactly the same as the distributive property. Now, I had everybody not write this down, but I just kind of showed you. Okay, you're going to take the first term, the outer term, the inner term, and the last term, and you're going to multiply those things together. Now, for a moment, I want you to just recognize that if there was no number here, you would have distributed the x times those two. Okay? That would have been last year's work. Well, if I pretend for a minute there is no x, I just have a 3, I do the same thing here. Look what I just did. I just did my first term, my outer term, my inner term, and my last terms. I just did a double distributive property. Now, of course, we're not going to write our work that way. Again, my first terms. Here's my first term, x and x. Those are my first terms. My outer terms, x and 2. My inner terms, 3 and x. And then my last terms, 3 and 2. Alright. So, again, we'll never write our work this way. So the last two ways I showed you are totally ways of doing it, but we're not going to write our work that way. This will be the way we almost always write our work. F-O-I-L. And 99% of the time, those two middle terms will be like terms, and you add them together. Okay? We'll go through another one, same idea. We're just going to show our work this way. Alright? First outer, inner, last. Okay? First terms, outer terms, inner terms, last terms. And then those are normally like terms, and we add them together. One more example. First terms, outer terms, inner terms, and last terms. Add your like terms together, and that's it.